Calling of roll.
Mrs. Alsop, Ms. Wigger,
Here.
Mr. Ellis,
Here.
Mr. Gentry,
Here.
Ms. Wilson,
Here.
Mr. Anderson,
Here.
Mr. Thompson.
Here. Councilwoman Alsup is out of town. Communications from elected officials, other officials, or agencies of the county. Commissioner Clinkenbeard?
Thank you, President Thompson, and members of the council. Mark Clinkenbeard, Vigo County Commissioner. Just wanted to give you a quick update on some things that the commissioners were all working on. As you've probably seen, jail demolition is going really well, making great progress. Once they get down, everything above ground is going to slow down a little bit when they get into the basement. Just to remind everybody, this was kind of a four-step process. The first process was moving all the tower communications into a building right next to the tower out of the basement. The next phase is the demolition, which is ongoing right now. And then after that, we will have the backfill. And finally will be the road construction, which is on the north side, which will have access for emergency vehicles. There will be some additional handicap parking, service vehicle parking, and parking for the Sheriff's Department when they transport inmates. Knock on wood, we're looking to be about $500,000 under budget on that project. So we're happy about that. It looks like the weather's going to cooperate also. Excuse me. And the other thing I wanted to update you on is community corrections expansion. We look to have pretty firm numbers by the end of this month. And we hope, well, right now, we're just going to plan on coming to the council in April with our plan, with the cost, and discussion. So just want to update you on those. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them. If not, just...
Council have any questions? Thank you. Before we go to any others, I believe Thrive, do you have a presentation you guys need to present?
Yes, thank you so much. How do we turn the screens on?
Scott, you ready for that?
Move that.
Oh, any button? Okay.
I think that's your garage door opener. There you go.
Hey, there we go. Which way am I pointing when I need to advance? Towards that? Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right. Well, good evening, members of the Vigo County Council. I'm Ryan Keller. I'm the CEO of Thrive West Central. I'm here tonight to provide a housing update with all of our ARPA dollars that we're using here to invest into the county into housing. We've made some significant progress with what we're doing. So when we look at Vigo County as a whole, this is everything that's been going on in Vigo County since we started this. This includes ARPA and Ready 1.0 in with what we're doing, and we have invested a little over $3 million of public dollars for a market value of $94 million plus here within Vigo County alone. So I think that's a pretty significant jump on housing of what we've seen. When we look back at previous years, before we started our housing initiative, we were less than about a quarter of this getting built, and we're now really exponentially kind of increasing what our housing is looking like here within the community, which is one of the greatest opportunities for us to build on our tax base and attract and retain really great talent within our communities. As we move a little further, when we look at just the ARPA dollars and we start to look at our county data, when it's just the county's money, not looking at city, what they're doing in the city or anything else with Ready, we've developed 94 units just on the county money alone, and you can kind of see the types of units that have been funded and how those look. We have several projects stacked up for this coming year in '25 that they're not reflected in these numbers yet because we haven't made our awards to those builders or developers. But as they come into the pipeline, will get added to this number more and more. Also, as you look at these numbers and you see the 379 on the total for the county, or you look at just the 94, it's important to realize that those numbers only reflect the number of units that was requested in with the grant funding when it came in. So for example, let's say that a builder is going to be looking at building 100 different units, either apartment complex or single family housing. They might come in and say, look, we would like to say we need help on infrastructure. We're going to chunk this out in phases in our development plan, but the first 40 units is what we're looking to fund here for our initial phase of development. So we capture the 40 units in there and the money that we're looking to invest to help de-risk that on the infrastructure side. The remaining 60 units isn't captured in this number. It will come, and once they actually start on that phase of the project, we will count that in the total. So the total number of units that is looking to be constructed is much larger than what you see on these numbers here, but we don't count them until they're actually built, because that's a definition of a good way to get yourself in an overinflated number when you're speculating of what's supposed to be built and then it never materializes. So that's how we're going about this. So our number that we're looking over the next several years of development is actually much larger, but we won't reflect those numbers. They'll continue to increase in the years to come, even after we've allocated all of the money and it's been spent. Those developers, now that they have that infrastructure in place, will continue to build and build and build in the space that they have allotted with those projects. The issue of affordable housing, we had that comment come up this morning in our commissioners meeting when we came to present. We have a strong sense that everything that we build should be accessible and it should be affordable. We are building housing that is affordable rather than the traditional sense of the way is affordable housing, which is generally low to moderate income. So we're looking at all the different ranges of income throughout the county, all the way down to your lower end income folks, all the way up to your high end earners, and we're building appropriately through that. The next few slides is going to go into what that looks like based on our market potential analysis results. So we're going to start with the annual potential house buyers here within Vigo County and what that looks like. So every year we have a little less than 1,900 annual potential house buyers. So that's folks all within our region, within Vigo County, within the state, even all across the country, who for whatever reason they have the potential to migrate or to buy housing within Vigo County. And out of that, we look at incomes at 60% of the area median income or higher. And so on what has been awarded thus far, this is the breakdown based on the pricing model that we use for our market potential analysis. So you can see how we're starting to get a good mix of units, but you can also see where the market is gravitating towards. So that's where these private developers and investors are saying, here's where I see the greatest demand. And we're making sure that the work that they're doing is quality, and we're also making sure that the work that they're doing fits within our market potential analysis. And so we're seeing that kind of spread initially. As we get a little further on, if we see we're getting a little too top heavy in one area, we'll encourage developers to change their project and develop in a different area based on what that market potential analysis says. Most of them who are listening to us and who are following what the market potential says are having no problem selling their product, and they're really making great headway what they're doing. Those that get a little bit out of it, we've noticed that they struggle a little bit more. Now that's not a catch-all for every single time that if you do this, you'll automatically build it and sell it within a couple weeks of listing it, but it does give them a strong sense that the data does work, and they're really enjoying using this data to help them back into what they should be building and how they should be pricing it. We want to look at rent ranges as well, so you can also see based on that number how we're starting to break down on apartments. And so that covers senior living apartments. It covers blight and rehab projects where we've taken old homes that were uninhabitable, that they were vacant or they had nobody living in them. That's a requirement of that. It can't just be a rundown place that somebody's living in. It really needs to be something that's truly vacant, not on the tax rolls. And so we're adding new housing units back. And you can start to see how that's breaking out. So it is capturing that low to moderate income all the way up to where we're seeing really high-end apartments for maybe our executives or other individuals in our community who are looking for a different product that they may have not seen in this region before. And last but not least, this shows you the progress over the region during this timeline. So this includes other counties that we've been working in and where we're developing it. So this was just really in the last year that we've seen this type of development take off. We started this program, we did our very first awards in August of 23 with Ready, and then we've spent the year of 24 really partnering with builders and developers to get these projects underway. We have even more builders lined up for 25, and the ARPA money needs to be expended by the end of 26. Ready Round 1 is going to be expended there. It'll be finished probably at the end of this year in 25, and then as we look at Ready Round 2 funding that will be coming down the pipe, we'll have several years in the future to do that, about 4 till the end of 28, but we'll be able just to continue this cycle of development, raising prices for developers to be able to do this at the market rate, so they no longer need a public help or public subsidy, but we're resetting some of those appraisal gaps that they see that makes these projects not feasible. And they'll be able to eventually let the market do its job, and we don't necessarily have to put public funds into these types of development projects. On the larger ones, you still will always probably be looking at some sort of infrastructure help, because the cost of infrastructure is just really expensive right now across the country. So you'll still see projects there where you'll be asked to invest, but on these smaller scale projects, the market will take care of itself if we do our job, and that's exactly what we're aiming to do. So that concludes our presentation, and happy to open the floor up for any questions that you may have.
Questions or comments? Councilman Ellis? You go first.
How are these marketed?
So right now, the builders are marketing them either themselves or through our realtor community. We are rolling out a program called Club 720, and we've been working with that organization. They're in different parts of the state and kind of throughout the country, and it is a program that allows first and second time home buyers to be able to come in, where they offer down payment assistance programs, they offer really creative financing solutions, and they're working on branching out to be able to showcase products of builders and even realtors in with that to get those homes out to even wider audience. So right now it's more on a local effort, but we're hoping that they'll get their platform built. So they've decided that they want to create a special spot on their website for what we're doing, because we're such a high volume producer of housing in the state of Indiana, that they want to create a special spot on their website just for us. And we're meeting with them in a day or two? Thursday afternoon to work with their web developers to start to build that page out, and we'll be able to showcase products on that page as well. And so they even are inviting builders, realtors, and lenders to all be a part of that platform. There's a no-cost membership, and then there's a premium membership that they offer, but it gives them the ability to reach a much greater audience. So we might have the ability, an even greater ability, to attract individuals from other parts of the country or even the state to come and live and work here.
Like, would they concentrate on a place like California, where they've had the homes lost to the fires and so on?
That's a great question. I don't know if they have marketing efforts in specific cities and how that works with their marketing, but we'll ask them on Thursday. I've often thought that in some of those really high-priced places like California and even parts of Texas and other parts of the country where somebody gets stuck on the freeway for hours, and you put a couple billboards up that says, would you like a change of pace, a change of living, come to Terre Haute, Indiana, or come to West Central Indiana. I have no idea if that would work, but it might be worth a few $1,000s to experiment with it one of these days, so I don't know. Definitely greener pastures here.
Councilman Ellis?
For those of us that are new to the board, and maybe even for some of the folks sitting out here, can you tell us just a quick overview of what is Thrive and what are your core goals? What are you trying to achieve?
Sure, fantastic question. So Thrive's been around since 1968. We started as the Economic Development District. Our legal name is West Central Indiana Economic Development District. When I came on about 5.5 years ago, we had kind of grown to be a sleepy nonprofit. And so we rebranded to Thrive, and we kind of reinvigorated our mission. Our mission is to create a really great quality place to live here and also provide economic prosperity for everybody in our region. And so our two goals are economic prosperity and quality of place, quality of life, and what we're looking at. And we have 4 main divisions in with Thrive. So we have housing, as you've seen here today. It's our newest division. Economic development, which is our oldest, and we do economic community development, grant writing. We work with the EDA. We do a lot of that work. We're the area agency on aging and disabled services, and then we also do rural transit and transportation planning services as well. So those 4 areas we cover. In our core counties, we cover 7 counties, and in some of our programming with data collection, with NDOT and transportation planning, we cover 13 counties. But we're all centrally located here in West Central Indiana, and it's focused all on improving life in West Central Indiana.
All right, follow-up question. This may be for you or it may be for someone on the board. I'm new, so I apologize. I'm just getting educated on this. It sounds like what this program does is it takes government funding and builds homes for the public. Is that a fair assumption? Am I understanding that correctly?
I would categorize it as it works through public-private partnerships to help mitigate that risk initially with infrastructure for a development. So it's a very small amount of funding. So I thought I might get this question today, so I came prepared with some more data. So as we start to look on here, when we look at infill lots, for example, what the average is on some of that per housing unit, we are doing a subsidy of around $16,000. Apartment complexes, it's around $5,000 for $4,976. And so townhomes, $5,800. So it's a very small percentage per housing unit that's getting created, but all it is de-risking, and it's covering some of that expensive infrastructure cost with those developers in that public-private partnership. So Vigo County is partnering with whatever private developer through Thrive who's operating your program. Does that make sense?
I suppose. I guess what I'm getting at is, does the program then conflict with and compete against local developers and local property owners, so that perhaps by developing these homes that the government is subsidizing, they're now in these properties for less money as a result of the taxpayers helping offset those funds, thereby making it harder for the private sector to compete. So maybe anyone out here who owns a home or owns properties for rent, are they now competing against people who don't have as much money in these buildings because the government paid for part of them?
No. So each of the, if I think I understand this, and if I don't, help me nuance this question and the answer. Everything is sold at what market rate, fair market value is and market rate. So the homeowner who's buying that doesn't get a subsidy. What would happen is if we weren't helping to de-risk with these developers and help fund that cost of that expensive infrastructure, they wouldn't be building those homes.
Okay, so the developers are the ones that benefit.
Absolutely. Developers are the ones that are benefiting from this, because otherwise the cost to build versus the risk on selling it at this price would be too high, and they would say there's not enough margin here, or there's no margin here for me to make, so therefore I won't even do the project because it's too risky.
And do we, for Vigo County, do we use local developers to build those properties?
Yes. The majority of the developers that we're working with are right here local. If anything, we want more. We've maxed out all of the builders that we can find here locally. And anybody who is not working with us right now, we welcome you to come with us for open arms, because we want more projects. We want to keep this going. We're not actively or reaching out to communities or builders in other parts of the state just because we have enough right here, right now. Now we're getting to a point where we are maxing everybody out. I'm going around and asking builders, will you do another round? Will you do another project? What do you got lined up? And they're saying, look, based on the timelines and what we already have committed, we can't take on any more work. We're done. We're maxed out, because they can't find the labor pool to be able to build more, get bigger, and build faster. They're running into the labor issues.
Thanks for the clarification.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great
Anything-
question.
Anything further from council? Thank you, Mr. Keller.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We'll be back next quarter to give another update, so hopefully we'll be able to show you another gain in our numbers. And I really appreciate it. If anybody has additional questions, please feel free to reach out anytime. I am going to sneak out of here because I have a Thrive board meeting I'm going to get to here in just a few minutes, so thank you all so much.
Thank you. Michael?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Just a couple items for you. The first is in regards to the Vigo County Treasurer's Office. You'll see before you a document entitled Ordinance 2025-1, authorizing and approving the investment of public funds. Back in 2022, the county council adopted an investment policy. In doing that, they set the policy to expire at the conclusion of every year. So this is an ordinance to give our current treasurer the ability to invest public funds for the calendar year 2025. This ordinance derives its authority from Indiana statute, Indiana Code 5-13-9-5.7, contains the guidance related to the conditions that are on the investment of public funds, such as a limitation of no more than 25% of the total portfolio can be invested, and a requirement that marketable securities cannot go out longer than 5 years as far as a maturity date. So Josie has asked for the ability to do this in 2025, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have related to it.
Questions from council?
I make a motion we approve ordinance 2025-1.
We wouldn't need to, we would.
We can't do it
that
tonight.
next
That's right.
week, yes. Councilman, thank you, though.
Well, you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but, if there are no questions, then I'll move on. The next item that I had is the, encumbrances that have been, presented to council for the 2025 year. For those of you who are unfamiliar, encumbrances are monies that were committed in 2024 but maybe not payable. So the departments can go back into their budget from last year to pay that money this year. There are statutory requirements that as to what has to exist for an encumbrance to be approved, and that's what the auditor's office does in verifying those claims. Have the documentation to support the encumbrance and then present them to the council for their knowledge.
These are items we do not vote on, correct?
That's correct.
Any questions from council?
Just clarification.
Yeah.
So essentially, this is bills that are left over from last year.
That's correct.
All right.
Any others? Thank you.
And then the only other item was the mediation with the judges is set for Thursday, February 6th at 9:30 a.m. You are all welcome to attend. I understand some have obligations that will prevent that, but obviously we will keep everybody apprised as that process moves forward.
9:30, Division III Court, correct?
That's correct, sir. So, third floor of the courthouse, 9:30 a.m., Thursday, the 6th. In terms of timing, there's not a specific time limit on it, but I would anticipate, it taking several hours.
Questions from council? Councilman Gentry?
Which judge will be presiding?
So-
Special judge?
It's not at that stage, Mr. Gentry. This is a mediation. So there has been a mediator appointed who is Stephen David. And he's a retired Supreme Court justice, Indiana Supreme Court justice. And so he is the mediator. The judges have counsel from Craig DeVault in Indianapolis who will be there. And it is not a hearing in the sense that evidence is going to be presented. It is a mediation where each side is coming into that with the hopes of achieving a potential settlement agreement. And that mediator is there to help the parties try and achieve that goal.
Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
Do you have anything else, Mr.
No.
Mayor?
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
President.
Adam Grossman from the Parks Department could not make it tonight. He did say that they had some damage done on a skid steer. Got an estimate done on it. It is about $30,000 to get it fixed. He's going to pay for it out of his budget. He said he may come later in the year. He was obviously not expecting it. He may come later in the year asking for an appropriation. I told him I'd mention it tonight. All right, moving forward. Reports from committees. There are none. Number 5, resolutions and ordinances other than appropriations, first reading. Ordinance, there are none. Ordinances related to appropriations. A, amended salary ordinance 2025-01, council administrator. I will do that, and it kind of goes hand in hand with B, additional appropriation 2025-01, council administrator. Those are on page 27 and 28 of your booklet. To explain this a little bit, Michael, maybe you can help me. This is a position that we had. It was taken away. The funding was taken away. The position still exists, but there is no funding. The salary ordinance is to correct the salary ordinance made in 2024 for 2025 for the appointment that I made of Devin Gackel for the administrative position. The amounts on here, the salary, she will be at the Baker Tilly, the pay grade of an 11, $53,172. You have FICA of $4,068, PERF $7,551, and insurance $12,926. Any questions about that from council? Moving forward, the additional appropriation is to approve that funding that I had just mentioned. And that is additional appropriation 2025-01. Questions or comments?
Mr. President, on the insurance line, on the original printout had the additional amounts in there for insurance. Is that going to be taken up?
Which line on
Uh,
the?
Insurance line shows a larger number. I think it encompassed some of the new council member.
Are you on page 28? I think.
I'm on page 5.
Page 5. Page 6.
Page 6.
That is a mistake. That insurance amount, I believe, on this one is for council members themselves. That's the total. And that is, I think it's C on our agenda,
Okay, thanks, sir.
which I will say now. Additional appropriation 2025-02, council member insurance is also on page 29. There was, the previous council had an insurance line item. Obviously, election, we've got 4 new council members. Council members have signed up for insurance, and this is the difference between what was budgeted. $78,914 is the difference between what was budgeted and the amount needed for 2025. Questions, concerns? The Councilman Gentry, the $91,000 is that price with her price. Questions? D, amended salary ordinance 2025-02, Vigo County Assessor. This one is on page 30. I think this is the elimination of the position. Mr. Gardner, I want to put all 3 of them together since you're presenting them. The amended salary ordinance 2025-03, Assessor's Office Pay Increase. F, amended salary ordinance 2025-04, Assessor's Office Pay Increase. And G, amended salary ordinance 2025-05, Assessor's Office Pay Increase. And H, I guess, resolution of reallocation of existing appropriation 2025-01. You will go ahead and explain.
Okay. Council members and Council President, thanks for hearing us today. With me is Christina Patterson. She's the Harrison Township Assessor. I'm Kevin Gardner, the County Assessor. I felt that she needed to be here since this is both offices working together. As you know, and I do think, is there also not a, and now I can't think of the word, an additional appropriation
Additional
for
appropriation.
reassessment?
Aye, yeah.
This-
2025-03 is the number.
Okay. What this started was when the Baker Tilly did their study and they set the grades. I disagreed with some of the grades in our office, which I presented to them at that time. In the 2024 budget cycle, I also came before the council and presented the grade that I thought it should be for the 2 offices and all staff members. Obviously, with budgeting, there's only so much money for the council to use. So what I've done is, working with Harrison Township Assessor, she has agreed that she can remove 1 position out of her office. In this paperwork, it shows that 1 position would have cost approximately $78,880.35. By doing that, it allows the grade to be increased by 1 for everyone in the 2 offices. And then this lays out what those grades would be for the deputies, the chief deputies, and the assessors. The difference between those 2 numbers is still $10,905.99. That's what the county gets to keep. So actually, this is in the county's advantage to do this. The only way this is possible is that with our 2 offices working together, we have taken up some of the slack that position would leave. We've also now, my office is going to have a person that does the permits for Harrison and county, which is something that position did. And obviously, Chrissy and I pick up going out in the field, doing permits, things like that, to help pick up some of that slack. So there will be no degradation to the service that the taxpayers get. It's no extra cost to the county. I just think it's the right thing to do to get the grades where they should be to reflect what's required of that position. We're one of the only offices in the county where our staff has to be a level 2 certified assessor appraiser to perform their job. We're one of the only offices in the county where my position and Christina's position, you have to be a level 3 assessor appraiser to run for that office. So it's not the same as all the other offices, and I think it needs to be reflected in the grade. And that's what this request would do. It would increase those grades. Talking about the additional appropriation. The additional appropriation is only because out of our offices, we have some staff that are paid out of county general and some that are paid out of the reassessment fund, which is a levy that was implied years ago. Because it's going to be a bigger amount, that's a lesser amount taking out of county general. So we're putting more money back into county general, but that has to be offset some by the reassessment, which means we need an additional appropriation to the reassessment. But if you put it all together and crunch the numbers, it's in the county's favor of the $10,900.
I will start with amended salary ordinance 2025-02 on page 30, the eliminating the position. Any questions from council? Councilman Gentry?
So I have a series of questions. I guess we'll keep it to this and then we'll move along and I'll ask the questions as they come along. First and foremost, what are you both certified at right now? Both,
We are both certified level 3 assessor appraisers.
And previously, you took on part of the work out of Harrison Township, is that correct?
Previously, before we decided to do this, Harrison had an employee that they filled a position, and we got together and made the agreement that that employee would do the permits for the entire county, Harrison and the county. So we were sharing an employee. I requested another vehicle, which was given to me last year out of my sales disclosure fund. That person used that vehicle. So I was given the vehicle, they were given the person. Now that person has came to my office, they're going to continue to do the permits for the entire county, but they're also taking other work on that's required for a township. I don't know if that's answering your question.
It's about as clear as mud right now, but I've read a lot of this, tried to get some information prior to the meeting, but I'm the newest person in this, so I'm going to dive a little deeper because I'd rather get some information if we can. So the position has already moved to your office, or is it still sitting in Harrison?
The position is still sitting in Harrison empty. I had a staff member that retired.
Okay.
I filled that position with the person that was in Harrison.
Gotcha.
So now they are sitting with 2 empty slots. One they want to give up, the other one they're still trying to fill, and they're having a difficult time filling it because of the requirement of being a level 2.
Okay. Mr. President, that concludes my questioning on this part of it.
Any other questions from council concerning that? Page 31, amended salary ordinance 2025-03. This is moving grades and the salary increase. Any questions from council? Councilman Gentry?
So one of the things that I'm concerned about, and I think you probably have both thought this through, is there's a lot of department heads across county government. And Baker Tilly was a cost to the county. They came in, they looked at salaries, and they determined where everybody should sit. One of my concerns is that to do this, whether it makes sense or it doesn't make sense, I'm still gathering information. But the point would be is I'm afraid that every other department head could come forward and basically say that the Baker Tilly study was not correct, and whether they've got a position to give up or not, the idea of this council consistently renegotiating pay grades, bothers me a great deal. And that's why we have a budget committee. And on an annual basis, this is reviewed by that budget committee. And I'm concerned, I'm not saying this doesn't make sense, and I fully respect you're trying to steal from over here and move it over here, and it all comes out. It's a little muddy because some funds gotta come from different angles, but it still bothers me from that simple standpoint. I knew that you were upset from the beginning and lobbied heavily that the pay grades were not correct, but I think most of the council members have probably heard that from every department head, and it does put us in a very awkward position. So I do have some concerns with that. I don't know if you have a comeback to that. Again, I'm not totally against this, and I truly understand you're trying to shift things around. Ultimately, maybe a better scenario. I also think that's why we have a budget committee. So, and they're the ones that, on an annual basis, look at this, look at our staffing, and so that bothers me. So, you have any?
I guess my response to that would be, one is, the door was already open with the allowing officers to come before you and change things, and it began with the highway department. Highway department was set at grades and set at a certain pay amount. And Larry came in here and he did a presentation that not only increased all of their grades, it took them to the midpoint, which no one else in the county has achieved yet. So we've already went around that a little bit. We've also done that a little bit in the prosecutor's office and a few other instances. I do understand what you're saying, and I don't think the funds are not there for the county to just take all the offices up grades and take all the other offices up to the midpoint, and I understand that. That's the reason this is a workaround. And I honestly believe if any other office wants to come to you and they want to give up staff members, make their office more efficient and be able to do it with less staff members, then they should get a slight increase, even as long as it's still a savings to the county. Efficiency is what we're looking for, and if we can become more efficient by working with other offices, other departments, do it with less staff, should there not be something to compensate that? Because we're taking on bigger workloads to do it.
I would follow that up. Again, totally get what you're trying to do. Would either one of you oppose the idea that even on an expedited basis that we would let the new budget committee at least look at it and then make a recommendation to the whole? I'm not saying that can happen. I mean, that would be up to the council. But I mean, again, if it took us an extra month to make sure that we got this right, does that bother you?
I mean, as long as it's right in the end, that's what I'm looking at anyway. Because as you've read in my presentation, because that position's already empty, it's already been budgeted for, I wanted this to be retroactive as of January 1 of 2025. So if it takes another month, but it still goes retroactive, I'm fine with that.
There would be no harm to you.
And with
if
the
it-
elected officials, that can't change until 2026 anyway. So it's not going to affect her or mine anyway. Ours has to stay the same for the rest of the year.
I've got a
Councilman Ellis.
statement and a question that may counter what you were saying and also may back up what he was saying. And it starts off with a question of, you said you have a position open now, correct?
Not the county.
The-
Harrison Township has.
That-
Well, they've got two, the one they want to give up and one other one.
Right. And have you been trying to fill that other position?
Yes, we have. We've got it posted on the website. It's been posted, I believe, since before Christmas, maybe.
And it's hard to fill because,
The qualifications that are needed to achieve the level 2.
Right.
We do have multiple applications that we are going through, and we've been working with Kara in HR
okay.
to help us weed out the ones that we feel like would be of the best in the training that we're looking for, I guess is what I want to say. But we're going to start that interview process
So
as soon as possible.
the
To
purpose of-
piggyback on that for just a second, though, Steve.
Yeah,
is
go ahead.
What people don't understand is when you go into a job, obviously you get trained by the staff that you've got there to do your job, and you got to start on day one. It's the same thing with our office. When they come on day one, we start training them, and they have to perform that job. But with that training, they also have to go to Indianapolis and take the class to get that certification. squeeze that in while they're still performing the job. It's a lot of stress that a lot of people just don't want, which is why it's so hard to fill sometimes.
And the purpose of that question was, regardless of to what any study states as to where the threshold is, it comes down to, in my opinion, to simple supply and demand. If we can't find people at the rate that we're paying to fill the positions, then perhaps we're not paying enough to fill those. Sooner or later, we'll, in any job, whether it's the street department or anywhere else, you're going to reach a threshold where we can keep those employees. Now, whether or not the county can afford to do that, that's another conversation. But it may be the case that if we're having trouble since December of filling that position, that might be an indicator that what he's arguing for has merit, that maybe it's a hard job that's hard to fill. So it's just my 2 cents. Again, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'll follow up to Councilman Ellis. I want to go back. When did the positions come open? How long have we been, you've got 2 positions, technically had 1, and now that one went over. So when did all that transition occur?
I was fully staffed. In December of last year, Chrissy had lost one of her staff members. I was fully staffed. I had a person that retired as of December 20th of 24.
That's when you took?
I took applications. One of her employees filled out that application. That is also the person that we had been sharing. So they just felt like it was a better move for them to come to the county.
Okay. So to that end, so both positions date back to December of last year?
Yes.
And so it's not like a 3-year search. I mean, so to that extent, still understand your numbers, still appreciate what you're trying to do. I just needed some more facts. So, thank you.
Any other discussion?
I just wanted to thank Kevin. I went in and spoke with him on this, and he explained a lot to me, and I appreciate you giving me the time.
Thanks for coming by.
Definitely creative.
I will, it sounds like we've had the discussion, but just for the record, amended salary ordinance 2025-05. That is to change the pay grade for the deputy assessor from on page 33, from a 7 to an 8. A, B, C, and D, the dollar amounts there are on your right. They are hourly wages. On page 34, which is the resolution of reallocation of existing appropriation 2025-01, that is the requested amount with the salaries. Harrison assessor, the salary increase, well, this on here, $21,146.78. FICA $1,617.73. PERF $3,284 for a total of $25,255.87. And for the assessor salary, $21,146.78. FICA $1,617.73. PERF $3,284 for a total of $25,255.87. Page 35 is the additional appropriation, 2025-03. The salary, $18,805.92. FICA, $1,438.65. PERF, $2,670.44 from the reassessment fund for a total of $22,915.01. And that's from the reassessment fund, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to finish with, we had talked about this prior to, there is a history with the assessor's office, I think, that goes back prior to Chrissy. I believe you were doing some of the Harrison Township work or checking some of their work. Is that correct? This has been...
Everything through Harrison Township's office funnels through our office.
Okay.
So they have to do all the field work, all the data, all of the reassessment of the houses. They have to do the commercial, all of that. That's in Harrison Township. But because I'm county, All of that has to come to my office. I'm the one that has to roll everything to the auditor. I'm the one that has to certify with the state. I'm the one that has to perform the ratio study, the land study, all of those things. So our two offices work together. That all work funnels through my office. All sales disclosures go through my office. They verify them, then we data enter them, then we use them for the ratio study. Personal property, they enter their personal property, we roll it to the state when we do the reports to the state. Anything that gets reported to the state comes from my office. So if it comes from Harrison, it still goes through my office.
Thank you, Kevin and Chrissy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, we appreciate it.
Thanks. We are down to J, additional appropriation 2025-04, security cameras for the courthouse.
Good evening once again to council. Also with me tonight is Tom Little. He's Director of Building Security. Some of you may remember that we originally were requesting these funds back in the fall under ARPA. We decided to pull that. I think that was probably in October, so that we could use that ARPA money for something else. And then, long story short, I guess, in December, I did not get on the agenda soon enough, so here we are. Basically, what this is providing for cameras, 7 cameras, and all the labor to install those, which includes some underground boring, also includes monitor at the security center in the courthouse. We have no cameras outside of our courthouse right now. We believe that's an issue. So we are asking for $38,151 out of lit special purpose to fund the security system. And I'll let Mr. Little, if you have anything else you want to add to that, or?
That's basically the gist of it. We need to keep people safe. We can't see what's coming in. If there's a threat, give us a chance.
Yeah, I would also note that we have also had from time to time people requesting security footage because of something that had happened, people that had went in, and we don't have any. So be happy to answer any questions that you all might have.
Questions from council?
I'll make a comment, not necessarily a question, only because I just went through this with another organization that recently installed cameras. Absolutely, we should have security, is my humble opinion. But I will tell you, I just watched another place go through and put cameras in, and they paid, I want to say it was close to $40,000. And I went and looked at the system when they were done, and they didn't ask simple questions like how many pixels, what was the clarity, what, can we pull it up on our cameras or on our phones if we need to, things of that nature that might come in handy, especially for the officers. You may not be by a monitor, and you may need to see and check out outside cameras depending on where your location is. So all of that is easy to attain, and with today's technology, I would highly encourage you to be looking at the pixels and the clarity of the cameras before you make a purchase.
Certainly.
I'll let Mr. Little expand on that a little bit. I know that this is some company you've dealt with before, correct?
Yeah.
Is one of the reasons, so let's.
Yeah. ICS is our company that we always go with for our security cameras in this building, all of our buildings except for the courthouse. This is pretty much top of the grade camera systems. 2 of them are going to be the pan, tilt, and zoom. It's 360 view, so that's going to be on the north side and facing 3rd Street on the east side.
Yeah, if you get the handout that I gave later, there's pictures on the front and the back, and it shows location of where those cameras would go.
So you'll have a total of 7 cameras, but actually 2 of the cameras are going to be the 360 views. So that's basically 3 cameras, well, 6 cameras in one, and 2, I'm sorry.
Any further questions? After these are installed, the $38,151, is there a monthly fee?
No. No, sorry, no.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
everything's going to be, everything that's already there is going to be integrated into our system, so everything's going to match up. There's no extra this or that.
That's the total price. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, ask a question?
Yes.
A little bit delayed. That's okay. Just following up with Councilman Ellis, the cameras that you currently have, the ones that you do have internally,
Yes.
do these cameras match the same quality? Do you, as
No,
far as?
these are going to
these better?
outmatch the outside is going to basically outperform the inside.
Okay.
We need to revamp on the inside. That's another day. We need more cameras on the inside. You know, there's an incident today where nothing can be seen, but officer needed assistance. So,
I encourage you to look into that. And
Okay.
get back to us.
all right, it'll be the same company. So,
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you.
yep. Thank you.
The next item, K on the agenda, additional appropriation 2025-05 through additional appropriation 2025-13, Health Department.
Good evening. Welcome back to two of you. Welcome to the two new members, and hey to the two that's already been here. Joni Wise, Vigo County Health Department. And as I preemptively informed the newly elected officials, you're going to see me a lot at the beginning of the year, and it's not to ask for funds, it's just going to be asking you to appropriate unappropriated funds. Some of them are from smaller funds that we work with the auditor's office to address, and some of them are going to be from our HFI budget, our Health First Indiana. But the first one in front of you, one of the things that the health department does is it works in tandem with a lot of other departments, whether it's area planning or building inspection. We're fortunate to have numerous funding streams, and so we like to share those with other departments within the county, whether it's funding capital improvement projects for the parks or funding programs for them, or the program that we're doing with the judges called JRAC, whether it's our social services division working with the jail to work with people who have addictions. So we try to spread our money around because if we are able to help out some of the other departments, that will allow the general fund, county general, to be used in other ways that are assessed. But working with our auditor's office and our bookkeeper that we hired last January, they found all these little bitty accounts, and they're just left over from grants. The 1168, the local health maintenance, that's what used to be Health First Indiana, and that funding source died as of July 1st, 2023. And so the state would like that spent down. With the accumulation of all these little funds and the local health maintenance, I reached out to the EMA director, Dr. Doreen Hoeneke, and I asked her, one of our core delivery services is trauma. How would you best utilize these small funds that would be able to best assist our county? And as some of you can remember, and I know Councilperson Thompson and Wilson and Weger were here, when we had our money come back from being reimbursed from giving the COVID vaccine, we took $300,000 of that and we bought devices for all of the township firehouses to help assist with CPR, their Stryker Lucas devices. But it's all those things to try to make people healthier and live longer lives. But Dr. Hoeneke came up with the things that are assessed on the sheet that I have put in for an appropriation, and there's a brief description of each one of them, where they will go. State Department of Health went through it also, and they approved the budget. So the last thing is whether you guys will consider the appropriation for it.
The first one, additional appropriation 2025-05, it is for $3,053.47. And it says other supplies. What is this one going to go toward?
So if you look at all the ones that are going to the 221100 is all supplies. That would go to the first 1, 2, 3 ask. And then the last one would be for the non-reverting, out of non-reverting, and that's just for equipment. So
All of those funds added up that are going into supplies would purchase the first three things that are on here, the LifeVac, the IFAC, and the CERT kits. And then the one fund, the non-reverting, would be for 44510, which would be for equipment. So it'd be come out of the 4 series.
Okay. Questions from council?
Questions about the whole thing or just?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So, just clarification, the account 1168, the local health maintenance, you said that that was a state program that's been discontinued.
What it was the local health maintenance and the trust fund were established by the legislature prior to me starting here, so that's been over 30 years ago. And that was really the tobacco settlement funds. And it had specific uses that it could be used for. And so when the bipartisan supported bill SCA 4 went through, it became Health First Indiana, and then they removed out of code the local health maintenance and the trust fund.
Okay. And so that money has been sitting here locally for a period of time?
Well, we've been utilizing it. We had a budget put in for 2024, but we didn't use it all. And what we had was 2 positions that were being paid out of it. And what you'll find with a lot of extra funded positions, when you go to allocate funds or project for insurance, you can't just project for a single person. You have to do for family, and because you can't say, well, I can't hire you if you don't, if you have a family. And so that's what you're seeing in that 36th part of it is the 36,000 left over from the insurance from last year. So we're trying to spend it down. We spent down our trust fund. We've spent local health maintenance down to the 36,129, and then this would get it off of the books.
So it would, okay, that was my next question.
Yes.
Does this close it out?
It closes it out.
All right.
It is gone.
What can you tell me about the LifeVac units? I've never heard of one, so.
Well, that's why the LifeVac units, they're to help prevent in choking. They've been adopted by the Red Cross. The medical studies have came out that they're more effective than the Heimlich maneuver, and I would encourage you to go and read up on that if you feel so to do so, need to do so. But that's what they are. They're things to help. And why we chose churches, because they tend to have social events and food and things like that. But it's just a trauma prevention choking device.
Thank you. Nothing further, sir. President.
Any further questions from council?
If you do have any after I leave here, reach out to me, or I can have you speak to Dr. Hoyneke.
Thank you. Anything further?
Not on that.
Go ahead.
All right. The next thing we're going to do is look at unappropriated funds with Health First Indiana. And then we've identified 3 programs that we would like the funding to go towards for now. I'm also having conversations with Bobby Moore at the Boys and Girls Club, Jim Owen with the Clara Fairbanks Center, and Sharon Carey from the Crisis Pregnancy Center about looking at funding some of their programs out of the unappropriated funds. But the first one I'd like you to take a look at is it falls under the HFI Trauma and Injury Prevention Course Service and Chronic Disease Prevention. And I'm going to invite Larry Smith up here. He's with Intrepid Phoenix, and he's the content expert on this. And it's something we've also had dialogue with the judges on, and it can also help our law enforcement officers.
Good evening.
All right, you're on. Want to tell them about Intrepid Phoenix?
It was in the package, right? Sure. Yeah, so Intrepid Phoenix, I'm Larry Smith. I'm the founder and executive director of Intrepid Phoenix. We've been in business in Indiana for 7 years, and we are a fitness program and fellowship for people in recovery from substance use disorder. I'm an alcoholic, and by the grace of God, sober 9 years. And when I started my journey, I joined the YMCA. I live in LaPorte, Indiana, and joined the Y, and it really worked out, helped me out. So I founded the nonprofit, We're in 11 Indiana counties. We're in Cincinnati, and we're in Berrien County. Here in Terre Haute, actually February, this month, is our 3-year anniversary of operating in Vigo County. So we collaborate with the Vigo County YMCA, and we collaborate with any agency or sober living or anybody serving people in recovery from substance use disorder. So these are our partners. So we partner with the drug court, veterans court, family recovery court. We get referrals from them, and we've been operating here for 3 years. We have had 596 people in recovery join, and our members have worked out almost 5,000 times at the Vigo County YMCA. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Oh, about the app. 5 years ago, I founded a for-profit company called Intrepid Phoenix Ventures, and we collaborated with the University of Notre Dame and Bowen Center, which is one of the largest mental health and substance use treatment providers in the state. And we developed a software platform for recovery. And it's a personalized plan of recovery developed by us in Bowen Center and the University of Notre Dame. And so it's on the phone. So a person in recovery has the app on their phone. They develop their personalized plan of recovery. They create their recovery team. I don't know how much you know about substance use disorder or recovery, but could be a sponsor in a 12-step program, could be a friend, a family member. And then there's a clinician desktop, which is used by, currently we license it to county government, to health departments, to mental health and substance use disorder treatment providers in the state of Indiana. And it drives a higher level of engagement between the clinician, the therapist, the counselor, the peer recovery coach, probation officer, and the individual in recovery to help them stay accountable and stay on track in their journey of recovery. So that's the software part of it.
And this software can be used by the courts, drug court, veterans court. He's had conversation with Judge Johnson and Judge Reddy. They would like to, we would have to just buy into it this time, and then there's a yearly fee. But we can have up to 15 entities utilizing this one app.
Yeah. So the ask that you have in there for the app piece is for 15 licenses, so 15 employees that would have the clinician desktop. We've met with Judge Johnson, we've met with Judge Lucky Reddy, and so we're going to make it available to the treatment courts initially here in Vigo County, so they can use the platform for the people they're serving in veterans court, in drug court, and in family recovery court.
Questions? Councilman Gentry?
Give me an example of how this would be used, the application. What is the app doing for Judge Johnson or one of the 15 licensed users? What are they going to do with it every day? How does that help them track?
Yep, that's a great question. So there's two components to the app. The phone app, so I'm in recovery. So I download the app. It's on the Google Play Store. It's on Apple and Google Play. So, for example, here's how it works. I'm in treatment court. I meet with my probation officer. My probation officer says, we have an app for recovery we'd like you to use. Great. They put in their name, email address, very basic information into the clinician desktop, which is what they use. Then the person downloads the app. Then they create together my recovery plan. So this could be, what meetings are you going to? What program are you in? Are you in the Matrix program? Are you in AA, NA? Are you in Smart Recovery, Celebrate Recovery? What am I doing for my mental and emotional health, physical? It's based on a holistic approach to recovery. So they create the plan, and then it's for the clinician, to answer your question, sir, it's a case management tool, so that they have all their patients that they're serving at that level. It's case management, and it gives them visibility into how their people are doing in between their sessions, because they only meet with a probation officer, or they only go to treatment court periodically, right? Once every couple weeks or month, depending on the schedule. So it's case management, and it provides visibility into how their patients are doing in between their meetings. Yes, sir.
I've got two questions. One is, does the end user also have an app?
The patient, yes.
The patient, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have it on my phone.
So is it free to the patient?
Yes.
So the coordinators pay looks like a monthly fee?
No, we'll take care of the whole thing for all of the courts and the law enforcement and whoever wants to be on.
So there's no cost to the patient, there's no cost to Judge Johnson, Judge Reddy, to the court budgets, there's no cost to any of them. There's no, Joni has stepped forward and said, we're going to pay for it, right? So that's why we're here, is to get that approval. So there's no hit to the judges, there's no hit to probation, and the patients get it for community corrections. Yeah. And basically the ask that we're making is to pay for a year, the licensing fee for a year. So there's no monthly, there's no add-on, and then there's an implementation fee for us to get it implemented with the users in the courts and the probation officers.
So you're saying that second part is what she's going to pick up. The first part is the appropriation to give the county access to the actual app? Am I following that right?
No, I don't think so.
The part that you're asking for an appropriation for,
Yes,
what is
sir.
it going towards?
Is there two?
Twofold.
There's two. Let me explain. Which is the first one?
This one.
Do you have the numbers, Joni?
Yeah. Where's the fitness one?
It's 27,000 and change for the fitness program, and then the application was 31,045.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the 27,000 is to fund our fitness program that we've been doing here in Vigo County for 3 years. So what that money goes to is, a lot of it goes to the YMCA, because we pay the YMCA for the memberships, both individual and family memberships. So if somebody in recovery can get a family membership to the Vigo County YMCA to use the facility. And then it also, we have a local program coordinator that we pay to manage the program here, because I can't manage it from LaPorte. For the last 3 years, we've gotten grants. We got a grant from the United Way, and we've gotten 2 grants from the Community Foundation here in Vigo County to fund the program for the first 3 years, is how we've supported that. So that's the first one is to continue the fitness program here in Vigo County. And then the second one is the licensing, 1-year licensing cost for the software platform to be used. I hope I clarified that.
Councilwoman Wilson?
Trying to formulate a question here. On this little chart here, you've got the fee per clinician as $24,750. That's for the licensing of that software,
Yes, ma'am.
and that incorporates 15 different people using it.
15 people using it and unlimited actual patients.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
It's just sort of our go-to-market pricing model. We break it out by month, but the total, and then it totals up.
Anything further?
And if you leave here today, I'll punch in Larry's contact information for any other questions that you might have.
I've got some cards.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah,
have
and
it.
cards,
Yeah,
yes.
I've got cards. I can leave them if you want, or Joni can connect you if you have other
Absolutely.
questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. The second ask on this request is for Purdue Extension, and I'm going to have Chloe introduce herself.
Hi there, my name is Chloe Hurst. I'm the Community Wellness Coordinator for Purdue Extension Nutrition Education Program.
And tell them about the two programs.
All right. Can I bring up these pictures to the front desk first? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so the first program that we're going to talk about is called Growth Club. This is a program that I started implementation on last summer at the farmers market. It ran for just about 6 weeks and it had excellent participation. Prior to the program starting, only 10 to 20 kids were estimated to come to the market on a weekly basis. Once the program started, we very quickly increased to 50 kids, 60 kids, and even had a day with 100 kids who came to participate. Each week, we actually partnered with different community organizations, such as the Public Library, the Community Master Gardeners, and they put together a very awesome activity that the kids got to participate in, something that would be physical activity, maybe nutrition education, or taste tests of different kinds of local fresh produces. And then after they got to participate in the program, they then got a little voucher to go shop around the farmer's market to purchase either a fruit or a vegetable from a local vendor. The program went over super well. Kids were telling me, oh my gosh, I can't wait to come next week. They were dragging their parents to the market and they were having record days for a lot of the vendors. Any questions about this first program?
Questions from council? None.
No, none. Awesome. Okay. And then the second program is related to a yoga program that I'd like to start at Deming Park. On that back side of that little picture form, you can see some of the first time that we tried this at Deming Park. They haven't had anything like this going on, and so it would be a really great thing to bring to the community. The program would be 11 weeks long and take about 45 minutes every Saturday starting in May. We would be contracting with Common Ground Yoga to provide the services, and it would be completely free and open to the public. We even scheduled it so that it would align with the bus schedule so that we could get participants to the park on time.
Questions? Councilman Gentry?
The appropriation you're asking for this, is this the 2219?
$5,000. One is 29. The Growth Club is 2,960, and Yoga in the Park is 2,040.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One more, and it's only because Gail got her asking late, but Gail Wright with Purdue Extension. It's all good. Go ahead.
And my program is actually a fall prevention program. It's called Matter of Balance, and we actually license it through Maine Health. It's a national program for aging adults. It's actually a cognitive restructuring program. We meet 8 times once a week, and we do different fall prevention strategies and reframing how they feel about falling, as well as simple chair exercises from the week 3 on. And the maximum number, because of the actual chair exercises and the limited mobility for some of these individuals, is 12. So this ask is for 4 classes, which we typically fill for 48 participants then over the course of the year. We used to be funded through Thrive, Area Agency on Aging, and they've decided to use some of their Title III funding that paid for this program in a different fashion. And then after that, we use Community Foundation grant funds to utilize to pay for the participant fees. But that's really all I'm asking for, is to pay for actual binders for the participants and snacks, which are actually written into the program that are needed. And that's about it, unless you have any questions at all.
Questions from council? Councilman Gentry?
Same question. I'm digging through the packet, looking for what is the funding you're looking for this, the appropriation?
For 4 classes, it's 2,200. I'll have to look real quick.
2218 maybe?
Yes, the 2218.
Thank you. Thank you.
Page 24.
Any other questions from council? Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, now, I want to add one thing. With Health First Indiana, all of our contracted entities have to sign a contract. They have to utilize the funds by the end of the year, or they revert back to the health department. Each one of them are asked to track data because we have to show the success of our programs or what needs to be done differently. For all the core delivery services, we've created what we call KPIs, or key performance indicators. And if we have any entity that's contracted with us, they must report out their data twice a year, and then we enter it into our system that the state can then show our legislators what's working and what's not. What's super fortunate about our health department is we were fully operational, where a lot of health departments in Indiana are in the process of capacity building. Our councils have been very supportive of us in the past, and so we've tried to use as much as we can of the funding to go and look at other agencies that can deliver those core services to help the citizens in Vigo County be healthier. But it's not like we just hand out money nilly-willy. It's like they have to be accountable.
Thank you. Any final questions for Joni? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it. That was the last ordinance related to appropriations. Number 7 on the agenda is public comment. And we have Hamilton Center.
Good evening.
Thank you. How are you?
Thank you.
Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Emily Owens. I'm the chief of our clinical outreach at Hamilton Center. I'm here on behalf of our president and CEO, Melvin L. Burks. We give this report every year. It's our annual report for Vigo County. The date ranges of the information that you'll hear tonight is from July 1st of 2023 through June 30th of 24. For those of you who aren't that familiar with Hamilton Center, we are a community mental health center here, obviously in West Central Indiana. We have been operationalized almost 55 years in the counties that we serve. At this point, we are in 11 counties. We also have been designated a CCBHC, a Certified Community Behavioral Health Clinic. So we have 2 of those designations, the CCBHC and the Community Mental Health Center. We value our approach in working in the community, so going to where the patients or the clients are to serve those in most need. In your packet, you'll see the front page there of our board members. I'll list those really quick before we move on to more of the data section. We have Larry Cheeks, and this was the board members during this time frame. Larry Cheeks from the Federal Bureau of Prison, Andre Kumaro from Indiana State University, Paul Lockhart, Caldwell Banker, Norman Lowry, First Financial, Bobby Moore, Terre Haute Boys and Girls Club, Michael Nasser, attorney, Anthony Tanous, attorney, Michael Tom, and Jim Winning from First Financial. On page 1 of your packet, you'll see the total patients served within Hamilton Center that year. We were in Vigo County, we served over 4,000, almost a little over 4,200 patients. Almost 3,000 were adults and 1,200 were youth. As you'll see there, the number of completed intakes, and that means it's just a new patient that we assessed, was a little over 4,200. The average time it takes for an initial appointment is usually 17 days. However, I do want to note that we also have a walk-in option. So if anybody just feels like they need to walk in to be seen, we are able to accommodate those needs as well. Moving on to page 2 of your packet, you'll see our primary payers for the services that we provide. The first payer, of course, the majority of our patients have Medicaid, and then followed by that third-party commercial insurance and then self-pay. We also value ourselves in that community outreach effort. So we are involved in numerous community meetings and committees. You'll see a list there. I won't go over all of them this evening, but just to name a few, the United Way of the Wabash Valley Council, Vigo County Homeless Coalition, the local coordinating councils, Community Resource Alliance. Of course, we attend the commissioners and the commissioners meeting and the council meetings. And then we also are heavily involved in the Vigo County School Corporation and on numerous committees there, for example, the School Safety Commission. We also are at events in the community providing education and information for the services that we provide, different things like community health fairs, the Connect Fair, National Night Out, Union Hospital's Diversity Fair, the Housing Authority fairs, things of that nature, the Homeless Awareness Day, just to name a few. Wanted to highlight there on page 4 new programs within the county. So we have reestablished a partnership with the vocational rehabilitation here in this county. And that is a way for us to take those referrals from VR to provide more intensive support for those that might want supported employment. So helping individuals find employment, helping them stay on the job, making sure that they are successful in those employment opportunities. Another partnership that we have is a Union Hospital. We provide peer recovery to assist those patients discharging typically from the ER if they need more continuum of care services with our substance use and our mental health services. One thing last year that I did mention was also our enhancement and increase to our mobile crisis services, and we have really expanded that this year. We are in Vigo County as a hub for mobile crisis, and within that hub, we can serve up to a 45-mile radius. And then this past year, we also have increased that to a Sullivan County hub as well, and so we can provide services within that 45-mile radius outside of Sullivan County as well. Moving on to our substance use and addiction services, you'll see there we provided a little over services to over 1,600 adults and 13 youth. The locations of our addictions treatment services, they're behind the courthouse. We have our traditional outpatient addiction services. We have our opiate treatment program there. We have a primary care clinic in our main center that provides substance use services as well. We also have a transitional living unit on Oak Street in 13th. That's more of a 90-day residential. And then, of course, our community-based services that we provide all throughout the community. Listed there are some of our evidence-based practices that we use, Matrix, Seeking Safety, just to name a few. And then on page 5, you'll see the common substances that we see in our clinics as far as prevalence, with stimulants being number 1, cannabis number 2, and alcohol number 3, followed then by tobacco and opioids. And then the youth, it typically is cannabis as number 1, alcohol, tobacco. On page 6, you'll see more of our numbers with our mental health services. Again, we have our main center there next to Union Hospital on 8th Avenue, but we also are embedded within many of the co-locations with housing, and we provide services in every single school in the corporation. Again, some of our evidence-based practices there for mental health. We have a lot of our providers trained in cognitive behavioral therapy, motivational interviewing, trauma-focused CBT as well, just to name a few. And then on page 7, you'll see our primary top diagnosis for adults. Most of the patients that we serve have generalized anxiety, major depressive or post-traumatic stress disorder. And then our youth, we're seeing conduct disorders, generalized anxiety, and oppositional defiant disorders. And then just to note, we do employ, at this point, in this report, it was 361 Vigo residents with Hamilton Center, and we provided a little over $2 million in charity care. And with charity care, I mean we provided services that we just did not get reimbursed for, whether that be the person did not have insurance, or they did have insurance, but the provider maybe that was seeing them wasn't, paneled for that specific insurance, et cetera. There could be many reasons for that. Again, this is an overview, high-level report that we like to give you every year, and I was able to make it to the commissioners a couple weeks ago and give the same report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from council? Emily, I do. Something happened recently that made me look in. Every year you do present this. Something happened recently to make me look in a little further. I don't know how many of these questions you can answer, or at least get the answer for me eventually.
Yeah.
Your board members,
Yes.
how are they appointed?
Yeah. That was a question that commissioners had, I believe, too. We take applications or just suggestions from the person themselves if they're interested, or others that want to recommend. And then the actual board members themselves look over that information and approve or not approve at board meetings.
Do those board members determine whether or not your director is, or who the director is?
Who the director is as far as at the center?
Yes.
They definitely have oversight of the title of president and CEO, I believe. Is that what you're asking?
Well, Director Burks,
Yes.
do those board members determine who is in his position?
From my understanding, yes.
You said Hamilton Center is serving 11 counties.
Yes.
Do you get a financial contribution from all 11?
No.
You do not?
No.
Which counties do you not?
We do not in Marion County. We do not in Hendricks. We do not in Putnam. And we do not in Knox. The others we do.
Vigo County you do. Do you know what Vigo County provides?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. It's actually, the last report that I had, it was $737,000, a little over $737,000.
In the 2025 budget, Vigo County, what it says, there's a Hamilton Center donation line, $760,492. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, that's probably.
Do you know how much your director makes?
I don't.
Over $905,000 in 2022. My issue, what started me looking into this, is the council has an appointment on your board.
Yes.
That appointment was made. I was told that appointment needs a resume to be voted on by the board, which in return decides who the director is. Does that make sense? That an elected official appointing somebody, it's a 4-year term, that they would be required to have a resume to be on that board?
I do not know that. I don't know that answer.
House Enrolled Act number 1454 that passed July 1st of 2023, on page 162, it says that the counties that Hamilton Center serves, not only Vigo County, but the other counties that have a council as well, are all allowed to have an appointment on that board.
Okay.
Does that sound familiar? Do you know, I don't know if you know much about the board or,
Yeah. No, I know that we have a designee, or we had a designee that the county is to be represented on the board. And I do know that was referenced at the commissioners, I think that code as well, that's the extent that I am aware of, so.
okay.
We can definitely go back and answer any more questions that you might have.
Well, how does that, my board appointment, get on your board?
I would have to go back and get that answer and get back to you.
Okay. Don't mean to shoot the messenger.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you were the person that came. I've been on the budget committee in the past. Councilwoman Wager's been on, I think Councilwoman Wilson's been on it before. And it seems like when it comes to the Hamilton Center, that donation, it keeps on increasing. I don't know the reason why. Is it due to
Yeah, so-
population?
It is. There's a ratio that they use based on population that is far above my thought process on how they come up with that final number, but it is a ratio and an algorithm that they do use.
Okay.
And it is in that code.
That's what the state,
The state tells us how
tells us how much we have to give it.
And every year that increases, correct? And we have, and Vigo County has no say on how many people, I know what you have served. How many people do you think Hamilton Center turns away a year?
We do not turn anyone away that needs service.
You do not?
We do not.
Okay. I don't think I have anything further. Any other questions from council?
I have a question that really doesn't pertain to any of this. I'm just curious, if you would know the answer. What percentage of your patients are treated with SSRIs or antidepressants versus a more holistic approach?
Yeah, so I don't know the exact number, but I would say, and I can get that for you to see how many have that prescriber versus non-prescriber service. I can run a report for that, Mr. Ellis. But I would say, at least maybe 30%, if not maybe more. But would you like me to go back and get that
I was just
information for
curious.
you? Yeah.
That's all right. Thank you.
Could you tell me, Emily, how many patients can you handle in-house as inpatients?
We have 16 beds for our inpatient unit for adults.
Okay.
And typically those beds are full usually. We do try our best to stabilize on our inpatient unit the quickest that we can and have a good discharge plan for that individual so that we can continue that flow, if that makes sense, because our crisis diversion center is 24/7. They're open 24/7 for anyone that needs that crisis assessment and service.
Yeah, I think, we have a tremendous interest in mental health now because, we've had to put so many people in jail
Correct.
who are mentally ill, and we're building a residential treatment center because we just under federal order, federal judges got a
Right.
hammer over our head to get them out
Right.
of jail, and so we're really
Yeah, and that's part of our effort too, is to divert from ER and jails.
Right.
We get a lot of law enforcement drop-off to this crisis diversion center for assessment, and so,
What happens, that brings up a point, when a law enforcement officer brings an individual to Hamilton, how, do you, evaluate them?
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
what the process is.
yes, we evaluate them. We do a thorough crisis assessment is what we call it, to determine do they need our inpatient hospitalization, or do they need just outpatient services following up with them, or do they need another level of care, and we would make that recommendation and coordinate from there.
Are your beds full most of the time?
Typically, the beds are full, but again, we try to really have a strong discharge plan for those patients to ensure that they follow up with their outpatient team and get the medication right, get the therapist right, get their care managers in place, provide a peer recovery specialist if needed, those types of things, so that we can at least decrease those admissions to the inpatient unit, if not, try to divert that as well.
And if you're full up, then what happens? What happens to the
Yeah, so
person?
if we are full in our unit, our crisis diversion center staff coordinate with other inpatient units throughout the state. We try to look locally first with our other partners here in this county. And then if they're full, then we go out to the next county and so on, utilizing those inpatient hospitals that are in the state.
Thank you.
All right, yes, Mr. Anderson.
For
Councilman.
years, we used to have a gentleman would come to the jail, Mr. Mackey.
Yeah, Virgil Mackey.
Is he still around? or-
I think he is around.
Okay.
He's not with
No,
Hamilton
he's not
Center,
with you
but
guys anymore. We used to send a lot of them up there.
Yes.
And he used to also come to visit there at the jail. I didn't know if we were still having that service.
yes. Yeah, we are able to provide services in the jail as needed. They call upon us occasionally. We were involved with drug court, things of that nature.
Okay.
Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you. Have a good evening.
You too. Any other public comment? Hearing none, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion by Councilman Gentry, second by Councilman Ellis. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.